Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. We are live at the completion of the second ODI, where Shreyas Iyer has just scored a magnificent century to take Team India over the line. Ishan Kishan has kind of got stuck in the 90s, but for what feels like, I don't know what the stats are, but feels like a while. But we have a full house here today. Guys, it's been a while since all three of us have been on. So DJ, thanks for joining. Varun, let me start with you. Assuming technology is working, how have things been going? I know you've been, dealing with the change at home and life getting a lot busier. But have you been able to watch a lot of the cricket recently? Have you been able to follow the T20 series, the ODIs? How's it been going? Oh, just as he'd rejoined us, I feel like we might have tech issues. So DJ, let me come to you first and hope Varun comes back shortly. What are your thoughts? T20 series 2-1. ODI series currently tied at 1-1. I mean, it was a 40-over match, the first one. But yeah, how are you feeling?
Yeah, pretty good result in the T20 series. I think that's what we predicted as well.
I mean, that's the
We seem to go for
easiest
2-1 a
prediction,
lot, right?
right? It's 2-1 in the three-match series. It's just the
2-1 in
easiest
favor of
prediction.
India. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. I mean, it was pretty. It was a good series. I mean, obviously the series was dominated by the news around the T20 World Cup squad and the lack of Bumrah in that squad. But I'm sure we'll talk about that injury and stuff later. Um, a good result for Team India. The batting seemed to really be firing uh, in all the games. But yeah, I mean, we'll see whether how it plays out in the T20 World Cup. But I mean, the second string ODI team seems to be doing pretty well as well, captained by Shekhar Dhawan.
Shekhar.
Um, yeah, it's like looking into the future, right? Like gazing into a crystal ball and looking into the future, which is it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Varun, are you with us? Can you hear me? Are you back?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think I've got some issues connecting, but as of now, should be okay.
All right. Well, I was just checking in. How have things been going? Have you had a chance to watch the T20s? DJ and I were just started talking about the T20s, but did you watch the India South Africa series? We are a week away, I guess, from the World Cup. How are you feeling? Oh, all right. Maybe we cut our losses, and seems like we've lost Varun
Yeah,
again.
he's going to pay the internet bill. That's what's happening. Okay.
All right. If he comes back, we will try one more time. I was excited to see if we have a full house. But DJ, let's talk through. You mentioned the T20s a little bit, right? I'm not going to go through every single one. India won the first two, and so by the third, we weren't as kind of
Lost interest.
lost interest, weren't as prioritized. Ended up giving 227. But let's kind of go through your key highlights, right? Rahul,
Yeah.
I think, made 250s and didn't
Man
get
of the match, Rahul, dude, in the second
Well,
match.
so we'll come
That
to
was
that
a
in a
weird
second.
decision, wasn't it?
Yeah. Virat looked good in that second match. Little obviously
Rested for
made
the
the duck
third
in the
match.
first. So it's kind of unclear, basically. What are your highlights? You said the batting was good, and then we'll talk through specifically that second.
Sky's innings in the second game was unbelievable. How
Yeah,
good was that?
yeah.
It was
Well,
it was
he also
just
made
brilliant.
he made a 50 in the first, also.
Yeah, but the second one was
No,
just
no,
it
but
was
I'm just
60
saying,
of
like when
22
you
balls or
build on
something.
top of that, right? He
Yeah,
had a
yeah,
half century in the
true,
first, and then you're like,
true,
my gosh. So,
true.
so, so Sky was the main highlight.
And from India's perspective, I mean, but Killer Miller, dude, what that 100 that he got, India put
It
up
was,
237, and
if I'm
South
not
Africa nearly
mistaken,
chased it.
what was interesting is I think I read a stat that said it's not often that you make a century in a T20 in chase in a losing cause. And one of the other people who's done it is KL
KL
Rahul,
Rahul. Yes,
which is
at
such an
Fort
interesting.
Lauderdale.
But it seems so. It seems so on brand for KL, right? To be making centuries in a chase in a losing cause. But anyway, talk to me about. Let's talk the second. Like, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on the first T20. It was fine, right? We got them
No,
all up
but
for 106.
Arshdeep and
Actually, yeah.
Cheher showed up, right? With the
I
ball.
want to.
That
I'll
was
come
pretty
to
cool.
bowling. I'll come to chat about our total bowling in a second. But on the batting, right, in the second T20, making 237, right? Rahul and Rohit opening. Obviously, we're not asking the question anymore of like, are they the right openers, etc. Are they going to open for India in the World Cup? But Rahul made 57 off 28. Kohli then made 49 off 28, which is a phenomenal innings most days to strike at 175 at number 3, but was probably the third best innings in this third best individual performance in this innings. And then Sky came out and hit 5 sixes in going for 61 of 22. So is this kind of the approach Team India is going to take? Is this the option that Sky, Karthik kind of players get when Rahul is more aggressive up front and it works?
No, it was brilliant. It just kept going, right? Like to get more than 200 in that game was just unbelievable. You also saw kind of DK come in at the end, smash 17 of 7, and in his kind of, I think you called him the 6 ball specialist or something like that. Or was it like 8 ball specialist, 29 of
Yeah,
8
man.
from
From
Nidahas?
Nidahas, that's his brand now.
Yeah, but it was brilliant because it you saw it come off, right? What is worrying though is I don't know, like the bowling's just worrying me, and like you can talk as much as you like about the batting, but you can't score 240 and then let people get within 16 runs of it. It's. I mean, yeah, the
So
ground was small and the pitch was good, but you're expecting to keep them to under 200, right? Even then.
yeah, okay. So let's talk this. And
Especially since Temba Babuma played in like a maiden. He's got a
he played a
seven
full
ball
maiden, got out on
duck.
the seventh ball for that.
I
But
mean, dude.
let me
Yeah.
ask, and I think technology is working for Varun on audio. So if you're listening to this as a podcast, you won't notice any of the issues. But if you're watching us on YouTube, it'll be funny that he's not on but is listening. So Varun, if you can hear me, let's talk a little bit about this getting 221 in chasing 238, and specifically Miller said, I think, when he made that insane century, he said Quinton de Kock apologized to me later, saying I just couldn't get going. Right when one guy makes 106 or 47, and the other was batting at about a run a ball. Like how do you manage partnerships like that? That's tough, right? To be the batsman that has to apologize.
Actually, it's too many runs. Can I just confirm? Can you guys hear me?
We got you, man. It's strange to not be able to see you, but to hear you, but we got you.
So I put it down to them basically. They were chasing too much, and that's when a batsman has to come and apologize, because otherwise, somebody like Quinton de Kock, he still played a good innings, man. Like don't take that away from him. He's apologized because the target was that big. He's also apologized because Miller was that brilliant, right? My God, is this the first time on the show we've had a Basra of over 330?
I don't
That's
know.
what
You are our
Miller was.
Basra guy, man. You got to tell us.
Like my mind now just does additions so fast. Like between 100, 150, 200. But yeah, he was, I mean, Basra of 330 and Quinton de Kock was still going at 200 plus and had to apologize, right? So that
Sky,
just shows.
sorry, second T20, 61 of 22 balls. Sky was 338.27.
Yeah, but DJ didn't mention that when he talked about Sky. So
I
this
know.
is the
He talked
first
about the innings.
official
I
330
was
plus.
waiting for you to come and tell us the Basra stats. I don't want to steal your thunder. I mean, as it is, you're like Akashvani. We can't like see you, but we can hear you like speaking. It's awesome.
I mean, yeah, fair. I think you're probably being a little more generous to Quinton de Kock than I was. He really looked like he was struggling. But I'm not, not a ton to talk about in the third match. India made a bunch of changes. Pant came up to open. DK batted at 4. But let's come back. And Riley Rossouw made a phenomenal century. But DJ, let's come back to your question. The bowlers, right? Deepak Chahar, I said this, I think, in the second or the third T20. But basically, Deepak Chahar, Arshdeep Singh, and Mohammad Siraj essentially were all in a call it an audition, right? Because the timing of this was such that Jasprit Bumrah had just, I don't know, first off, he got injured, then ruled out, then Dada said he's not actually ruled out. And we went through a little bit of this typical BCCI drama about what was reality and what was not. But talk me through that. Like in the series, Arshdeep obviously had a good first match, as did Chahar. Neither of them had a good second match. Arshdeep picking up 2 wickets but going for 62 runs. Actually, sorry, Chahar had a good second match where he went for 4 overs for just 24. And then in the third match, Arshdeep was left out. Chahar picked up 1 but went for 48. Did anybody cement their place in the side? And is the fact that India has left for Australia without that 15th spot, that Bumrah spot filled, is that very telling?
It is a little bit, isn't it? I mean, I think Arshdeep has he's almost the successor, the only one left, right, to succeed Bumrah in a way. We thought he was up against Harshal for a spot, but he can bowl those Yorkers. You saw he could bowl up front. He can swing it. So he's probably the closest you replacement you've got. He was already in the squad of 15, so I think he's now made his way into the playing 11 for sure. After that injury to Bumrah, and that's not a bad thing in itself. I mean, let's go back to 2007, right? Like I was watching the highlights recently, and RP Singh and Irfan Pathan were in the wickets, and I mean, Arshdeep is kind of a similar bowler, right, in a way, and you had Shrishant as well, who was taking wickets, and you had Jogi, and I mean, sometimes maybe it's not a bad thing to lose some of your bigger name players and give some of the younger players a chance to come out of their shadow and perform. So I think Arshdeep is going to be playing in the 11 now. Um, I think Harshal had a pretty tough couple of series as well. I don't know how many runs here he went for in these games, but I think he went for a lot. Right, those dipping Yorkers and things haven't been working since he got back. Um, and then Deepak Chahar did himself no harm with that spell up front in the first T20 and the third T20. So I think he's already in the reserves, if I'm not wrong. So I think he should, to my mind, move up into the 15. But there is talk, obviously, of Shami, who was in the reserves as well, replacing the more experienced Bumrah. I think that might be. I don't think that's going to be a great move. I don't think Shami's a T20 bowler. I think Deepak Chahar, if I'm not wrong, Deepak Chahar holds the record for the best T20 figures by an Indian. Quite.
Probably. I
Six
don't know.
six for 23
Isn't that
T20.
Stuart Little?
No, that's
6 for 7.
ODI, man. Six. That's T20.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, so
that's ODI. So
you were
Deepak
talking
Chahar
about
6 for 7 against Bangladesh in 2019. Sorry, Varun. Go ahead.
yeah,
no, I was just saying DJ is talking about Shami and Shami not being a T20 bowler, but who has made him in that position, right? It's clearly the selectors and the BCCI because if I'm DJ, did he play the last World Cup? The
Shami did.
20,
Yeah,
yeah.
Shami
So
did. He got
I
all the
think
abuse right after that game that we
yes.
lost.
So he has played, I think, again, I'm just like, I can't confirm the number, but I read that he's played one T20 since 2021 World Cup. And now suddenly you're talking about experience, right, in Australia. So it feels a bit odd to me.
So, Varun, let me ask you then, and there's an interesting comment, but I'll ask you first. Bumrah is kind of this once in a generation type bowler. A lot of the media has covered it, people have talked about it, but obviously disappointing to miss out. Bumrah got some hate, unfortunately, on the internet, being like, "How is he always fit for the IPL and unfit for Team India?" Not to speak for the two of you, but I go out on a limb saying I don't think any of us believes any of these guys would prioritize playing for a franchise over their country, right? I think Bumrah is probably the most unhappy or upset out of all of us to be missing out on the World Cup. But Varun, let me ask you, who in your mind does slot in? Is it Shami then, because he does have experience, but he hasn't played, like you said, he's only played one? Is it Arshdeep for being lefty? Is it Chahar, who's now got a twisted ankle, I believe, who I believe, and who like is not doing his fitness test? And like, yeah, who slots in for you?
Yeah, so I would not play Shami because I think he's just out of practice. And I also think that to win a T20 World Cup, you need bowlers who can do something different. Now, sure, an Arshdeep, Harshal, or Deepak Chahar might go for 19 runs in the last few overs of the game. But they also might pick up 3 wickets because you're going to look to go after them, right? As opposed to people like Shami and Bumrah, who you're just going to wait for that next over. So I would not play Shami, but given what Dravid and Rohit said, it seemed to hint that way. For me, it's pretty clear, man. Like my top two now are Arshdeep and Chahar. And I've just been so massively disappointed with Harshal Patel because he's now played, I think, 6 games since he made his comeback. And the first 2 or 3 everyone accepted. The next 3, it was just atrocious. So I don't know what he was up to.
And Varun, while we have you decently on signal, let me, before we take a quick break and talk ODIs, marks out of 10 for the batting. I think like Sky and Rahul are the two that I specifically want to ask you about. How you feeling about them going into the World Cup?
Yeah, Sky is, I don't know, 11 on 10. I don't know how to rate him. But look, my funda, for lack of a better word, with these top three is that just one of you make 75, one out of the three of you every game, and let Sky and Pandya do the rest. Like that's it. I don't have much more expectation. So whether it's KL, Rohit, or Kohli, one of you just go on, play the 20 overs, and you'll be doing us a favor.
Yeah, and I'm just disappointed Varun didn't bring up 15 for 3. I mean, it feels like I was expecting him to talk about us being 15 for 3. But DJ, let me ask you last thing on the batting. What is this? What is our strategy going into the T20 World Cup? I guess we have one more episode before India plays our matches, so we can talk it more then. But what's our strategy on players like Dinesh Karthik? Is he a number 6 batter? Is he like if one of the top guys makes 75 and the first wicket falls after 16 overs, do you bring Sky straight in? Do you skip Virat? Do you bring the nation? Like, how fluid are we really going to be? What's the strategy there and the thinking?
I think you have to be fluid. I mean, if you've batted 15 overs with the two openers going well with Rohit and Rahul, there's no point bringing in a Kohli at that point. And we've seen Kohli do that. He's dropped himself down the order previously as well when even he's been skipper. So at that point, you'd put a Pandya in, you'd put a Pant in, you'd put a DK in, you'd put the big hitters in to finish the last five kind of overs. So I see DK's role very much as the finisher, that the last four overs, let's say 16 to 20, would be his area. But you saw in that last T20 he can bat before that as well, so that's good. I mean, if you're 9 for 4, which is what South Africa were, 9 for 5, I think,
Mm-hmm.
you can still hope that someone like a DK, because DK's he played the first T20 World Cup. It
Mm-hmm.
was still called, what was it called? It
World
was called the
T20.
TT. No, it was called the TT World Cup. I
Oh
remember
my.
Ravi Shastri was saying India have won the first TT World Cup. I was like, that sounds
But
so
it sounds
strange.
like ping pong.
Yeah, because it was like, no, the T20 wasn't a concept back
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
But I think you've got to be flexible. I think you've got to float your players up and down as they come. I think someone like a Sky could probably leapfrog a Kohli in that scenario because he can just go from ball one. But you have to be flexible. And I mean, interestingly, we've talked a lot about the bowling and how disappointed we are. It is India have done pretty well down under the last time we were there with a weekend bowling lineup, right? There was no Bumrah, there was no Shami, there
Yeah,
was
and there's an interesting comment coming in specifically that says, "Tell me from Tropical Eskimos. Tell me which bowler in our T20 World Cup squad has not injured his back at this point. It looks like Gabba 2020 dressing room," which is absolutely right. Like that's when
And
Shardul got slotted in, and yeah,
and by the way, I'm in India, and I watched that entire underdog series.
oh man, is there a way?
Before
If any of our listeners knows, is there a way to watch it overseas? But anyway, sorry.
I don't know, DJ, if you've seen it or not, but it was excellent. Like, I think it could have been made a little better, but just that the content itself was so fantastic that you're willing to look past some of the more average production values. But it was amazing, man. When you reach the fourth test and you've got Shardul and Sundar and Natarajan and Siraj, and of course Pant and Pujara. It was amazing. So if you guys haven't seen it, you need to find a way to watch it.
yeah, we'll do. I've seen the trailer for it a number of times, but the other thing is actually maybe with the Bumrah injury, you back your spinners a bit more.
Mhm.
Maybe you don't focus completely on quicks. Maybe that's not the way. I don't know, Ashwin. We've got another question on. In
Yeah,
fact,
question or comment from Sai Vasant, which says, "Who's better? Who's a better fit in the 11, Akshar or Ashwin? Both have similar skill sets, but Ash gives experience, whereas Akshar has been played more." DJ, I think you've talked this pretty clearly that Akshar is the quote unquote like for Jadeja. Varun, what is your take on Akshar versus Ashwin really quickly? I know both have played for the Delhi Capitals, or maybe when it was called the Daredevils. Ashwin's kind of that wily, smart cricketer. Does the bowlers run outs? Does lots of weird stuff in the field placing. Once in a while, walks in and bowls a leg spinner. But who do you play between Akshar and Ashwin?
I would play Akshar again simply for my previous reason where he just picks up wickets. I don't want a situation where you've got Shami and Ashwin bowling and economy rates of 5 or 6 and 0 wickets, right? I would rather have an Akshar who, of course, firstly can bat a little bit, but secondly, just has this knack of picking up wickets. He's like a spinner version of Shardul Thakur, right? He just somehow comes in and picks up wickets. and so I
But,
would play him
and why not both though? That's the other point, right? We keep
because you're
thinking three
assuming.
fast bowlers,
I
three
don't
fast.
think
You've
you
got
No,
Pandya as a backup, right? You
because
could play
you're
both.
thinking Chahal is in, right?
Yeah. I think Chahal is playing for me. So then it's a question of, do you have a second? I mean, if you play three, that means Akshar's at 7. Call it, and then among the 4 bowling slots, you have Chahal, Ashwin, and then 2 other quicks. On the assumption Pandya is your third quick batting at
Yeah,
6. Is that
Pandya's
okay?
your third quick. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
three
there's merit to
spinners,
that.
big grounds, back your strengths.
Yeah, I think they'll
Flexibility.
explore it. Honestly, I think they will. Right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. Weirdly enough, a week out from, I said this before, but a week out from the T20 World Cup, we're going to spend a few minutes talking about ODIs and kind of India Team B, if you will, or our side of the future, or younger side, whatever you want to call it. So let's take a quick break. We will be right back on the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, we didn't actually really go anywhere. But if you're listening to the podcast, thanks for staying with us and welcome back. Varun, let me ask you, what is the point of playing an ODI series with a second string team 1 week out from the T20 World Cup? Like, why are we doing this? And have you had a chance to watch and engage with any of the games?
I watched the first game a little bit. Second, I just haven't watched at all. But I can't understand the point. My dad was asking me today, like, is the South African lineup the same that's going to play the World Cup? Why have they stayed back while the India World Cup squad has gone to Australia? So I can only assume they just want some sort of match practice, and I can't. I don't know why. DJ is shaking his head.
It's ODI Super League points. They need the points to qualify for the next World Cup. South
Also,
Africa
this
is
is a
currently
South
sitting at
Africa.
number 11, so South Africa needs the points. They've
So this is
cancelled
done.
ODIs against Australia in Jan for their T20 league, so
But
they've
they
given
So
up
this
lost.
points
is
for
Like,
it.
if they don't win, do they still get points? How does the points work?
No, they per game. So you get points per game, not per series. So they
Okay,
won the first game, so they got points for that. They lost
okay,
today, so obviously
got it.
India got points for that.
so basically this is done just for South Africa.
I mean, we're still watching it, so clearly they know that there's going to be an Indian cricket fan audience, right? So, right, 249 in that first innings, right? It's not a bad score in the Lucknow Stadium. Not a great score in a 40-over match, by the way. Phenomenal heroics from Klassen and Miller. I think when they walked in, it would have been like 70 odd for 3. Then De Kock got out at 110 for 4, and then in 18 overs they doubled the score, getting to 249. Varun, let me ask you about the chase really quick before I come to DJ. Right, top order didn't do great, unfortunately, and at one point, I think it was like 50 odd for 3 or 50 odd for 4. You and I were messaging each other when Iyer and Samson were batting, saying, "We know we've seen this happen, right? Iyer will play an innings that's a little slower than we need, but he'll still make runs. Samson will play a phenomenal innings, not get us over the line, and exactly that played out, didn't it? Like, how many times have we seen this happen? That Samson comes back, plays a great innings, and all the media is, "Why are we not playing this guy? Why did he not get on a plane to Australia, etc."
Yeah, it's exactly that. I can't understand what happened. I looked at the first four batsmen in that lineup, and I was just shocked, man. Like especially Ruturaj Gaikwad. What was he doing? Isn't he like a T20 player? 19 of 42 balls. Kishan 20 of 37. It was just disaster all the way. And then, yeah, like you said, credit to these two guys, right? They came in and tried to make a match of it and somehow still ended up losing in Samson's word by two shots, right? 1-6 and 1-4. That's what he said that we lost by. He had a brain fade moment in the end where I think he took an extra, like he gave a single to the batsman on the other end, maybe it was Ravi Bishnoi, and didn't keep strike. I don't know. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, but it was just the problem was at the start. It was too slow. They ate up too many balls, and it just became hard to recover.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot else to add, right? DJ 240 in chasing 249 doesn't look bad, but it was pretty horrendous. It was a pretty
Yeah,
horrendous chase. Let's be clear.
I read a stat somewhere which said out of the 240 balls available um, to the team, the first 102 balls brought 46 runs. I think that tells you the entire story.
Jeez. Yeah,
For
batting at
four
3 runs
wickets.
on over when you need 6.5, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's just pointless. But nice to see Sanju smack it. It's always fun to watch Sanju smack it, and it was the first game of the series, so
Yeah.
not an unpredictable result if you've
100%.
been
Like if
following him
anybody
for a
is
while.
putting money on these things, forever put money on Sanju doing well in the first game of any series. And then we went to the second match in Ranchi, and this was a full 50 overs, and South Africa ended up making 278. Markram made 79, Hendricks made 74. Again, a good score, kind of, I mean, slightly below par. So you would have backed Team India to get over the finish line. First off, from a selection standpoint, DJ, Washington Sundar, back in the mix, right? In a world where you're especially talking about three spinners, or at least can your all rounder be a spinner if Hardik's not available, etc. We didn't get to see him bat today, but 1 for 60 and 9 overs is not worth riding home for. But nice to see him back in the ODI setup, or what's the game plan?
Yeah, just nice to see him back on the park playing international cricket again. Um, he didn't bowl particularly well. There was a lot of stuff, filthy stuff down the leg side, which got put away. He went for a few runs, but he wasn't the most fluent in the field either. So I think he's still feeling his way back in a bit gingerly. But I mean, that guy is one for the future, man. We just need to make sure he's fit. He's going to grow into his game, and he's going to be something else. And long way may we speak about Washi scoring runs and what his dad had to say about them. So
Yeah, I mean, lots of Gabba references coming back actually this episode. But Varun, I'm not going to ask you about Sundar. India chased it down pretty easily, more than 4 overs to spare. Most people think I'm going to go straight to Kishan's great innings, which there's a comment on the screen for, and Samson. But I actually want to ask you first about Shubman Gill. How good did he look? Right, 28 off 26, hitting these absolutely stunning drives. They just look so clean, and I would say a little unlucky to get like that. The return catch on Rabada's bowling was absolutely phenomenal. Like he didn't look as good as it was because Rabada is so good, but it was a phenomenal catch. So a little bit unlucky, I would say, for Shubman. But is he like trying to is he really making a case to be the opener in the 50 over setup once Rohit and Shikhar move on?
I mean, I think he has to, right? Like he's a class apart. He's got great skills. Again, I have to refer to Gabba because I saw it just 2 days back. He set
It's a
up that
fourth
match.
Gabba
Yeah,
reference this episode.
yeah, he set up that match. So I definitely have a soft spot for him after watching that with recency bias. But I think Dhawan has said he wants to play the 2023 World Cup. Rohit is going to captain that World Cup. Rahul is still, we're not sure what his role in ODI is, whether it's at number 1 or number 5. And so I think he's going to have to wait. But the minute that changing of that guard happens, Shubman Gill is going to be up there. Um, he's got competition. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of guys, and if you start looking at our ODI team, almost everyone, like except Iyer, could open the innings. So it's going to be tough competition, but definitely putting his hand up there.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree. And then DJ, really quick, because I want to make sure we have some time to talk a couple other fun things in the world of cricket. Ishan Kishan 93, very unlucky to get out by missing out on that century. And then Shreyas Iyer, of course, 113. I don't think there's any doubt that Shreyas is a class ODI player. I think my problem is we always extrapolate that to be like, why doesn't he play T20s for India, etc., which I think we've discussed at length. But any highlights? I mean, it makes that third ODI exciting. At least we got the series tied at 1-1, so either way it'll be a 2-1 finish again. So somebody predicted right. But yeah, thoughts. Great partnership, right? Not a lot to say. It was just quality batting.
I mean, for me, it was actually that over that he went after Andrek Nortje, who was bowling 146 clicks at one stage. And Ishan Kishan's just put him into the mid-wicket fence, just hitting it cleanly. I think he went 4-6-6, and then there were two dots while he tried to ramp or like uppercut Andrik Nokia, who was not impressed by that effort. But I mean, I've always liked watching Kishan. I mean, until last year, I thought he'd probably make the squad for this T20 World Cup. He fell away a little bit, didn't have a great IPL. But you could see the disappointment in him. He took his time early on. That was nice to see. It was a bit of maturity. It is his home ground. He's a Jharkhand boy. Uh, I mean, obviously, we knew the other great wicketkeeper batsman that came from Ranchi,
Which of
right?
our listeners is keeping tabs on how many minutes till DJ brings up MS in any episode? Anyway, keep going.
I mean, how can you watch a game in Ranchi without talking about the great MSD? But it was great to see another young wicketkeeper bat three. Uh, Cop criticism in the previous game because he was absolutely abused for whatever the 20 of 37 balls or whatever that he made. Put it out of his mind, came back, smashed it. I mean, it was like watching a little bit of the future, other than watching Shekhar do Shekhar things as usual. And I mean, the Gill innings, it was just full of little gems. And for me, I don't think he should open the batting. I think he should bat three when Kohli goes. He's for me, he's the sole successor to Virat Kohli, right? Like in Test as well as ODIs, and he's so pleasing on the eye. Just a fantastic innings, and pleased for Iyer as well. So much chat about his short ball stuff, but I mean, it wasn't the world's fastest or most bouncy wicket, but he just did what was needed, and the only way you can do that is by scoring runs, right? So, congrats to him. Second limited overs 100 for him. He's got a
Hmm.
test 100 as well.
He
Yesterday.
does in his debut. Right. So good run for the men. Let's talk a little bit about two other things that are happening in the world of cricket before we wrap up for this week. One, the Women's Asia Cup is on. It's been pretty interesting, very, very clinical from the Indian women, except for the one game unfortunately, against Pakistan. But doesn't matter who you lose to. At the time of recording this, India beat Sri Lanka, who have looked good against everybody else. Beat Malaysia, beat the UAE team. Again, lost to Pakistan, and then just earlier today, at the time of recording this, beat the Bangladesh women. So looking really good, sitting pretty at the top of the table. 5 matches, 4 wins, I think it is. Tied with Pakistan, who have 5 matches, 4 wins. So it's looking pretty clearly like India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka are in the semifinals. I think Thailand and Bangladesh are going to be duking it out for that 4th semifinal spot. Actually, by the time of recording next week, we'll be able to talk about the finals. But overall, it's been a good run. Again, the one match you lose, it's allowed. You wish it's not against Pakistan, but that's how it goes, unfortunately.
Before the knockouts is okay. That doesn't count.
That's it. Just get it out of the way right now. DJ, a couple things. One, friend of the podcast, Jemima Rodriguez, she's been on this show before. How unbelievable has she looked? Just absolutely incredible. Her, Varun, if you're still listening, her Basra has been 240 or so, 238 across the tournament, right? Average is 94, strike rate of 145 almost. Just phenomenal. And kind of nice also to see Shefali Verma coming back to form, not only with the bat, but also with the ball. She's picked up a few wickets, especially in today's game. So nice to see. DJ, any predictions? Looking like we will probably face either Bangladesh or Thailand in the semi, and then potentially Pakistan in the final. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I think pretty confident, man. I think India are the best team by some distance in Asia. I think barring the blip against Pakistan, which would actually act as more motivation for these girls, I think it's going to be. I think the ladies will manage what the men couldn't do and lift the Asia Cup next week this time. So that is my very strong prediction, and
Let's
lovely
hope
to
so.
see Jemmy doing well. I mean,
Yeah.
she's just matured into such a fantastic batter, right? And I'd love to see her playing in a test match as well because she's got that kind of temperament to bat number 3, 4, and
Mhm.
and get big runs. So very very happy to see that.
Yeah, very well said. Varun, before we wrap this week's episode, earlier today, England was playing Australia, and we had a little bit of a moment in that game. I don't know if you got a chance to watch the video before this. Do you want to describe to our listeners what happened with Matthew Wade and I think it was Mark Wood, the bowler, and your kind of thoughts or reactions? And we'll post a link to the tweet where the video is posted.
Yeah, so it was very funny. I saw it literally 1 minute before during the podcast, and my jaw dropped. So Matthew Wade hits a ball up in the air, and it's almost going over. It's so high that it's coming back on top of his own stumps. He's gone down the wicket, and he's now charging back to get into the crease. Mark Wood is behind him, trying to make the catch, and Wade kind of looks back, sticks his arm out to stop Wood, and then gets back into the crease. This is all happening while Josh Butler is on the other end. No, sorry, behind the stumps. waiting for the ball to bounce, then catches it and puts his hands up. And Ashwin, did I describe that correctly?
I think so. I mean, for if you haven't watched the video, go watch it. But it was almost like in soccer or football, a defender was trying to avoid the striker getting the ball, and so used his arm and shoulder to do it, which would have been a yellow card. But it's like I've never seen it before. So, Varun, you said Joss was back there. He did say at the end of the game the team was discussed about appealing, and he didn't appeal. Like I don't know. In the world where we've had a couple of weeks of discussion about the bowlers run out and all of that stuff, like what is happening with the spirit of cricket? Are we saying it's acceptable now that Matthew Wade avoided getting caught out by putting his arm out and blocking the bowler with his body? Are we saying it doesn't matter because England ended up winning anyway, so who cares? Like what is happening? What is going on with the spirit of cricket?
I mean, do it against England, right? That's what everyone would say. Just do it. Stand outside the crease, punch the bowler, come into their catches. Because they're not gonna. I mean, the amount of moral high ground they're sitting on right now, they're not gonna get you out. So do what's needed.
DJ, before just as we wrap, quick take on this. What is your take? What is happening?
I mean, Josh Butler doesn't know anything that's written in the laws of the game. That's all I can say. It was extremely. I mean, if that's a World Cup semi-final or knockout game, and Matthew Wade has done whatever he can not to get out. It's
But
your
let's
job
start.
to get him out.
But let's start with like Matthew Wade. That isn't uh,
Yeah, but that's not
expletive I
out of
can't use.
character. Yeah, but
Fair,
that's
but
not
it's
out of
but it's
character.
ridiculous, right? That he did that. It's
Yeah, it
expected
is
but ridiculous.
completely.
Okay,
It's appalling,
just making sure. Yeah.
and there have been English cricketers that have been dismissed obstructing the field. Jason Roy has been dismissed obstructing the field, running in the way of a throw at the non-striker's end. Ben Stokes has had Mitchell Stark fling the ball back at him, probably with less cause than getting out over there. And he's tried to defend himself almost and been given out obstructing the field because he was going to hit the stumps. I mean, Josh Butler has got no business. Like, not. I mean, Sorry, he is the captain of England. He can do whatever he likes, but I'm sorry, he's not acting in the best interest of his team to try and win the game. There, you're not playing in the park on a Sunday. You're playing international cricket. The other guy has taken more than the extra inch and the advantage that he's allowed to take. Matthew Wade was out if you had appealed, and it's it's this kind of insidious, like we're going to claim the moral high ground about all of this stuff, which just keeps going. And Jimmy Anderson on his podcast recently came out and said, "Oh, India did this and that." I remember you bringing up the Collingwood incident where Grant Elliott was run out after colliding with Ryan Sidebottom.
Yeah, I thought it
Look
was
at the
Stuart
clip.
Broad, but I misspoke. It was Ryan
Yeah,
Sidebottom.
you know who's on that clip? Jimmy Anderson is standing in the huddle in that clip. And if there was ever a time to claim spirit of cricket where you've literally bodied somebody and then run the same guy out because you wanted to win the game, I mean, where was the spirit of cricket then, right? Like, I mean, it's just so convenient to take this moral high ground. I wish Josh Butler gets run out in this T20 World Cup at the bowler's end.
By Ash, right? That'd be ideal if Ash does it again.
Whoever,
Wow.
anyone, someone should do it. Someone tried to do it. Deepak Chahar didn't do it in the first game here. He should have done it. I don't know why he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Take the bails off. And Josh Butler should get run out at the bowler's end in an important game. They just don't want to learn. I find it fascinating.
Yeah, and again, I don't like this is not about the run out, but I think it's the spirit of it. I just think it's insane that some of it is in the moment. Maybe you don't know what to do, you react, but like a batsman or a batter has body checked a bowler to avoid letting him catch it, and like looked back, seen it very clearly, put his arm out. I think it's
And
unacceptable behavior, and the team
the
should be
Australians will take every inch they can get. Make no
to an
mistake.
extent, to your point, as they should.
Yeah, they
Like push
sledge,
the
they
limits of your team.
DRS brain fades, they sandpaper the ball. Oh, I mean, what, are you trying to prove that you're better than all of this by not taking the dismissal that's written into the laws?
They tell the umpire it's out, right? They say, I'm saying it's out, which means
Yeah.
it's out.
Yeah. I mean, it's
moral
ridiculous, right?
victories. No, but it's also interesting that Ben Stokes got very upset that, oh, how are you comparing this to the ball deflecting off my bat and going for four? But that's not it. When rules are rules, it's convenient. Oh, boundary contacts a rule, so we won the World Cup. So that's convenient. Yeah,
When
cool.
rules don't suit you, then they
Yeah, then it's like, oh, moral high ground. If you wanted to be morally upright, give the World Cup, share the World Cup with New Zealand. Let's do it.
All right. Well, we don't have time to spend the next hour ranting about this, but if you are listening to us on a podcast, this is a good reason for you to check out our YouTube. You get to see me and DJ, and you get to see us get a little more animated. If you're listening on YouTube and you're still here, please like and subscribe. It helps us grow. And if you're on a podcast or either way, just give us those 5 stars on Apple and on Spotify. It's been a wonderful episode. Good to talk to all of you. DJ, anything to add here, really quick?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a slightly sad and kind of mixed feelings type of announcement that we've got to make. So we thought we'd leave it till the end of the show. So the news is that this will be the last Edges and Sledges on the IVM Podcast Network. We will be announcing where we're going. But we just wanted to say thank you to Amit, Kavita, Tejas, Jayesh, all the producers over the years, Antariksh, Vishal, Vora, Surohini, Snehal, Vinay, Vijay, Rishi. I'm sure I'm missing a few names, but I mean, Edges and Sledges will continue. So you don't need to worry about anything. You'll still find us in the same place, but we'll just be with um, uh, we'll be doing something slightly different. So we'll announce all of that. And big thank you to the IVM folks. It's been a great ride, and we've enjoyed every moment of it.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you very much. Lots more news to come soon. But again, until then, like us, subscribe on YouTube, all the social media at One Tip One Hand, and we will be back next week with another episode as always. Thank you very much.